Nickel City Mafia, what's up? Week 8 is in the books. Our fantasy teams are really taking shape, and the playoff push has begun. Jeremy, how you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. Got a big W for my team on a Hail Mary, so I'm pretty happy. And
Yeah, there was only
fantasy
like
teams are
two,
okay.
two or three holding penalties before the
No,
Hail
come on,
Mary,
come on, no,
and one guy
no.
on the Bears, taunting the crowd. But
That was my favorite.
after all the years, I think the Washington football team deserves a break or two. So congratulations.
Yeah. At
So
least we
anyway,
didn't lose to the Browns.
yeah, hey, that was a rough game, but we'll talk about that in a second. But
Yeah.
before we get into our game recaps, I just want to put out there this is a live Q&A show. So if you're out there in the audience and you'd like to drop us some questions, please feel free. And one game that we're not going to talk about that had some pretty big fantasy impact due to a QB change is Indianapolis Colts benching looks like permanently Anthony Richardson and putting in the GOAT, Joe Flacco.
Mr. Elite.
What's your fantasy take on this?
So Anthony Richardson's droppable. Unless you have him in Dynasty or something, I think he's just straight up droppable. You have other spots, other people that can get on your squad better. Flacco's an interesting pickup because he throws a ton. So if you're in a Superflex league, if you're streaming QBs, he's one you can play matchups with. And then it actually increases the value of both Josh Downs, Michael Pittman. I think even Jonathan Taylor, to an extent, is increased in value. I think we could see Josh Downs as the best fantasy asset, though, between him and Pittman. I think we've seen him just do really well with Flacco. I've got him as one of my kind of buy lows or maybe buy medium kind of right now because people might not realize that, hey, Downs could just like take off the rest of the year. So, yeah, what do
Yeah.
you think?
Yeah, I mean, really unfortunate for Anthony Richardson. I think he started 14 career games before he was drafted. And then he's started 8 or 10 games as a professional, and now they're kind of giving up on him. Yeah, I don't know if it had something. I think it had a lot to do with skill, but I think it had something to do with attitude and effort. You probably saw, like I did, that play where he ran the ball and then he got sacked or got stopped for a short gain, and then he just like took himself out of the game randomly. Like quarterbacks don't do that.
Yeah, quarterbacks don't do that. Leaders don't do that. It's a shame. I don't think it's all on him. I think it speaks to the coaching staff there. It speaks to like how they've used him, the training they put into him, maybe not good enough. When we watch him play, right, he throws this deep ball, sometimes not super accurately, and he doesn't seem to be able to throw it, these short accurate balls as well, or these kind of mid accurate throws. Things that like you clearly should be working on with your rookie quarterback. And then on top of it, to see so many other young quarterbacks playing so well. But yeah, you never, I mean, it's brutal when he pulls himself out of the game. I'm sure we'll hear more in the next weeks or so about like what's going on there. If he's pissed at the coaching staff or they're pissed at him or what the deal is. For our fantasy, it sucks for Anthony Richardson, sucks for Colts fans. For our fantasy impact, I think it just means unless he gets traded somewhere, we don't really care about him the rest of the season or something
Yeah,
happens to Flacco.
I think you nailed it when you said, wheels up for Josh Downs.
Yeah.
Michael Pittman kind of looks hurt to me, so I would kind of play that one by ear. But Josh Downs, I think, is going to explode. And they play Minnesota this week. Minnesota, for having such a great defense, they give up a ton of points to slot receivers. So, like in DFS and like regular fantasy football, all in Josh Downs this week. I am like almost guaranteeing he gets 80 yards and a touchdown this week against Minnesota. So anyway, but yeah, the Richardson thing is odd. It kind of reminds me a lot of Trey Lance, where a team just took a huge swing on this uber crazy athlete with a rocket arm and good legs, and they're just like, oh, never mind, not good at football.
Well, except Trey Lance actually made it to a Super Bowl.
Well, he didn't play, but
I mean, he's there. I don't know, but I agree. It's crazy. Hopefully, something can work out better for him. I feel like the talent is there with Anthony Richardson. He just, whether he hasn't been trained right, he's not doing the work in the, behind the scenes. I'm sure more of it'll come out. But let's go into our first game of the week here. We got your Ravens
Womp
with a
womp
brutal
womp.
loss. Oh man, just
Dude,
I watched it. It was tough, man.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, this game was pretty brutal. There's so many things that happened that could have changed the outcome of the game, and just none of them went the Ravens' way. Tucker missed a 50-yard field goal, which, the Ravens ended up being easily in field goal range at the end of the game. So they could have kicked a field goal to win if Tucker would have made the earlier field goal.
yep.
Rashad Bateman took a 50-yard pass right off the face mask. That was hilarious. Um, Kyle Hamilton dropped the game-winning interception that was just thrown right to him. Eddie
Which is very
Jackson,
unlike Kyle Hamilton. The dude is a
yeah,
beast.
Eddie Jackson, who we started at safety this game for some reason, might have had the worst game for a defensive back in the history of the NFL. Uh, he dropped 2 or 3 interceptions and got toasted for 2 touchdowns. So he's awful. Anyway, I would say, Lamar can't do it all. And, he played a perfect game, but I don't really think that's true. He missed a couple balls. He would have hit Isaiah Likely on a 85-yard walk-in touchdown and just flat out overthrew him when he was wide open. So that sucked. So Lamar has a really good game statistically, pretty good game, but he just doesn't get it done. And he gets topped by Jameis Winston, who looked absolutely amazing.
It's what everyone has been calling for. Browns fans, all of us fantasy fans, we just wanted anyone but Deshaun Watson in there. And the clear answer, Dorian Thompson, he's not. It's not going to happen. All right, we needed Winston. We needed Mister just throw all the fucking time, all over the field, and it's what he did. I think it shows a little bit of a pattern of teams are going to throw on the Ravens. I think they're going to be kind of high scoring games unless the Ravens kind of fix some defensive issues in there. So for fantasy purposes, we might see some fun fantasy games for these Ravens matchups we have coming up. And for the Browns purposes, everybody on the Browns gets an uptick in fantasy value. The only problem is I feel like Njoku is the only one I could count on maybe going forward, but Tillman has 2 games in a row for him. He just was horrible last year. So it's hard to see it continuing, but he has to be on your fantasy team. Shouldn't be sitting on the waiver wires or anything.
Yeah.
What do you think about the new, I guess, Browns offense?
So my biggest takeaway of this game was just you always start the QB and the receivers against the Ravens. Maybe not so much the running backs. I saw this stat that every QB the Ravens have faced this year, so in their 8 games, that QB has either had their top fantasy production of the year or their second best fantasy production of the year. So the Ravens just give it out like Halloween candy. So whoever they play, you got to play the quarterback. So that means Bo Nix this week. Fire him up. So we got a question here.
Yeah.
So Perico, thank you for the question. If someone asked for Jefferson and Jameis to get Lamar in a super flex, would you do it? Daniels is my other QB and my wide receivers.
I mean, it does give you 2 legit, 2 smash quarterbacks for points.
Is it a
Deontay is not really startable yet.
Is it a dynasty league or redraft?
That's true. I'm gonna assume redraft. I think in redraft, I love Jefferson, but I think you got to get Lamar here, right?
Yeah, if you have Lamar and Daniels, it's pretty hard to lose in a super flex.
You're gonna have a tough week 14 though. You're just gonna take an L on week 14 because they both have the same bye.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, they both have the same bye. So week 14, you're going to be, but that's one week you lose and you win the rest because Lamar and Daniels are just putting up 20 to 30 points a week. And then he's still starting Neighbors, Waddle, and Dell.
I think you take the swing here because I think having Lamar and Daniels, you could literally win any week. even if if the rest of your team doesn't perform like top notch. I just think it's worth having both of them.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And also the Browns get a terrible schedule coming up. So they get Chargers, Saints, Steelers, Broncos, Steelers, Chiefs, all pretty good defenses. So
Yeah,
while Jameis, we love Jameis for like fantasy value for the players and everything. Jameis might be throwing a lot of picks and stuff. I think he is kind of a sell high candidate. I think he should do okay against the Chargers and Saints, but to get Steelers, Broncos, Steelers, Chiefs like 4 games in a row like
that's
that,
brutal.
yeah, it's pretty brutal. So I think you would much rather have Lamar for that whole stretch there.
Yeah, so I agree. And I also agree with what you said, Jeremy, about Deontay Johnson. I think this trade to the Ravens this week was really bad for his fantasy value.
Yeah,
The Ravens have kind of came out and said this week that Rashad Bateman is still their number 2. So I think Deontay is going to get looks, but I think a good game for Deontay Johnson is going to be like 4 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown. Like that's going to be his ceiling, I think.
yeah. The big deal is just target share. If you think with Carolina, he's getting like 30%, right? On
Yeah,
the Ravens, he's got to compete with both tight ends, Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers, and running backs. Just so it's
Derrick
just
Henry.
so many too many first round picks, Chris.
Yeah, yeah,
Too many good players on one team. Uh, So yeah, but Deontay, I think he's just a hold right now, right? If somebody wants to buy him from you and they offer you a good deal, go for it. But I think he's a hold because he's such a good separator. I think we could see him kind of eclipse Rashad Bateman if they using him in the right way. But it's something that isn't going to happen. I would think week 1. It's not going to happen next week, but maybe in a week or two.
yeah. So what I think that trade was for, and for those that don't, I'm a big Ravens fan, so I've been following this a lot. I think that trade was for depth reasons because Nelson Aguilar is not really who you want as your third receiver, and we really have no one behind him.
Hmm. Who's it?
So
Tylan Wallace, probably or something.
Tylan Wallace. And then Deontay Hardy is our punt returner and kick returner, and he is on IR right now. And
Mhm.
Deontay Johnson can return punts. So I think this had other reasons. And also, I think it gives us the personnel to run 3 wide receiver sets if we have to later in the year or in the playoffs. Like if a
Yeah,
team is like trying to stack the box, we can spread them out because Zay Flowers,
like the
Bateman,
Chiefs.
and Deontay Johnson are both extremely good separators. They don't do
Yeah.
everything great, but that's what they're good at is getting separation on one-on-one matchups.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, Perico, thanks for the question, man. Like and subscribe. We say go for it. Take Lamar and have him and Daniels lead you to a championship this year, dude.
For sure, for sure.
Do you have anything else on this game? I kind of, I like seeing Zay Flowers getting all the targets. I think even going forward with Deontay, he's enough clear number 1 to me. The tight end situation is still so muddied. If you have Andrews, like you're starting him again, I guess. I said to
He's
drop him
back.
like
He's back,
4 or
baby. I
5 weeks
mean,
ago.
Andrews is
Yeah,
back.
I guess he's
So
back.
he's now a tight end 1 on the year. Go figure. He had like no points through 3 games, and now he's back. I think he's tight end 11 or 12 on the year. So I think Andrews is a must start. I think likely is almost tied with him in points. So I want to say in 12 team leagues, 14 team leagues, they're probably both startable if the matchup's decent.
Yeah, I just picked him up in a dynasty league, likely, and I'm starting likely every week and just like hoping for a touchdown or for like this 4 for 47. I'll take it. I was a
Yeah.
little desperate, and then yeah, on the Cleveland side, we talked. I mean, I think Njoku is a top 5 tight end probably the rest of the way with
Oh yeah.
Winston and these other guys. Tillman's worth a pickup. I think Elijah Moore is interesting. We know the talent's there. It's just like, will he get all these targets every week? Jerry Judy, I'm not too interested in. I feel like he had his chance and we didn't see it. I really liked him as a rookie, but I don't think he's going to be the guy there. I could be wrong, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm with you on Njoku. He's the most interesting to me, for sure. So, yep, I think that's all for that. On to the next. We'll go over Packers and Jaguars. Packers are like low key having a great year, up to 6-2 on the year. Jordan Love leaves this game and Malik Willis comes in. It's looking like Malik Willis might start this coming week as well, What do you think?
Yeah, they're saying that's what I've heard too. That it's like it looks like Malik Willis, which it's going to kind of pull down all the fantasy value
Mhm.
for the wide receivers anyway. I think you're still like loving Josh Jacobs. The dude's going crazy this year. It's a weird year actually. I feel like everybody was all about drafting the wide receivers, and it's gone the opposite way. Wide receivers are getting hurt left and right. Running backs are just staying strong. This older generation running backs are just like all healthy and crushing it. Knock on wood. And Josh Jacobs is one of these guys, so I'm not worried about him with Malik Willis. The other guys, I don't know. Like, would you start Tucker Kraft this week? He's been so good. I guess you have to, right? Even with Malik Willis.
Yeah, I think you have to start Tucker Kraft. I mean, he's what, tight end 3 or 4 on the year. He's
Yeah.
killing it. Yeah, turns 3 targets into just a shitload of points. So
Yeah.
good for him. I think I don't know. I think
I
Jaden
think
Reed's probably still a start just because he gets 1 to 3 rushes a game and he's kind of like the slot guy. But
exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
yeah,
I think I start Jaden Reed and the rest I kind of wait till Love's back. And I've got like Reed and Dobbs kind of above Watson and Wicks.
for sure. Yeah, definitely not looking to start anyone but Reed and Kraft. And I think this is better for Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Um,
Then on the other side, Christian Kirk done for the season.
yep.
Sucks for
And
Jacksonville. Kirk wasn't having a great fantasy season. So you're not, I guess maybe you're not too bummed if you own him because you can just dump him now.
Brian
I think,
Thomas also injured. Hearing he might play this week and also hearing he might miss 3 weeks. I don't really know
yeah,
what's up with him.
I've heard day to day and week to week both. Like I've seen both things, so I'm not sure either, which is a bummer because he's like one of the best rookies. It's awesome to watch him play. He's been crushing it for us in fantasy, but it does mean on your radar this week, Parker Washington,
Evan Ingram.
and Gabe Davis.
Especially-
If he's healthy to play, he's hurt too.
He
Yeah,
sucks.
Evan Ingram is going to be a target hog. With
Yeah, they're
if Brian Thomas is out and Christian Kirk is out, Evan Ingram is just going to be like Kelsey used to be.
yeah, Gabe Davis has just had such a bad year. He's like,
Yeah.
I don't think I can start him no matter what. Evan Ingram is like, I don't know. Like, I think he's in consideration. I think they have a really tough matchup this coming week, but Evan Ingram with Christian Kirk out is like top 3 tight end for me. I
Yeah.
mean, every time Christian Kirk misses games, he just absolutely goes off. So,
Yeah.
love
They
Evan.
get the Eagles, so
Yeah, I think they're pretty good against tight ends. But still, I think Evan Ingram's locked and loaded,
oh yeah.
top end tight end 1. So definitely have him in your lineup regardless of matchup.
Mike's out of the basement. I'm in the basement, Mike, for the best ball week. My team is just I think I'm up to 4 IR guys and like 3 out guys or something insane. This
Oh yeah,
is the worst team I've ever drafted, probably.
let's see what's going on in that league while we're at it. Might as well.
Three IR guys and like I don't know, 2 or 3 out guys. It's
And
my team
Nickel
is
City Mafia is repping the top. We got Rick in first and me in second. Look at that.
Yeah, there you go. My brother-in-law's in third there,
Nice.
and I'm just chilling at the bottom. Mike
Yep,
pulled
dead
off
last.
some wins and got ahead of me. It's probably going to stay that way. And the Bills move ahead of the Ravens in the overall standings. What do you know?
So I saw that, Mike, and what is it? I thought I saw the Ravens are still favored to get the number 2 seed. I don't know why, but they are.
I guess
I guess because they have the
schedule.
head-to-head against the Bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have
Anyway.
anybody else from this game except Tank Bigsby. With ETN out, he's the guy there.
So ETN is ETN looks to be back this week. So
potentially, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think they're going to do there? I feel like you got to roll with Bigsby. He's been so good.
I think there'll be some kind of a timeshare there, and like as they ease ETN in, and ETN, he's going to get the pass work. I think for the most of it. But yeah, I'll be curious to see if you have ETN, he's playing. You have to start him, and if you have Bigsby and you've been using him, you probably still have to start him. You probably, if he's in your flex spot, you might not have anybody better.
Yeah,
Especially with the injuries we have piling up.
the way this year has gone, I'm almost always looking to put a running back in my flex, even if they're like a timeshare running back, because
Yeah.
wide receivers have just not been very good this year. There's a couple that have been great, but it's the year of the running back. It's the year of the veteran running back. So I'm absolutely jamming every running back I can into my starting lineup. Yeah.
Like, everybody's hurt, okay?
Yeah. So for those that don't know, we did a draft before the season started with like a lot of Nickel City Mafia people and then other friends of ours. But the way the league is set up, you can't make any trades or any transactions on waivers, so you're just stuck with it. And Jeremy's whole team just is on IR.
Is on IR. Yeah, give me some waivers and then I would have fixed that problem.
Cool, man. Well, my last takeaway here is like Trevor Lawrence has quietly snuck into back end QB1 range. He was pretty bad at the beginning of the year, but he's kind of been really solid the last month here. So
he gets a rushing touchdown too. Yeah.
What's that? Yeah. There's just been
a rushing touchdown. Yeah.
There's been no noise about Trevor Lawrence pretty much all year, but he's having a solid little fantasy season. So good for him. And it's only going to get harder, right? Christian Kirk's out for the year. Brian Thomas might be out. So we'll see how that goes. But nice little bounce back the last month. I was getting really worried about him moving forward, but seems to have righted the ship a little bit there.
They don't have the worst schedule. They get a tough game against the Eagles and Vikings and Lions, but they've got some teams coming up they can throw on and stuff. I think he'll stick it out and be all right. But next up we got Falcons and Bucks.
Yeah,
this one was a pretty good one, but
two playoff hopefuls here in the NFC. So Captain Kirk, I don't know. Do you remember the last time that he played the Bucks when he threw for what 508 yards? So I think it's safe to say that Kirk Cousins just owns the Bucks. He threw for 508 yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns, and now comes back again and throws for 4 more as the Falcons get the win. What's your takeaway? And you better talk about Kyle Pitts. Thanks.
My takeaway is sell Kyle Pitts because he's not going to keep being this good. That's my main takeaway. No, Kyle Pitts has an amazing game, but I just think it's tough to see him getting continuing up this target share, continuing these touchdowns. I would sell him if I had him. I think Bijan is going to continue to be good. He gets, a bunch of receiving work, which we love to see. Drake London is a low point. I think he'll bounce back. He still gets a bunch of targets. He just didn't get any, bombs. He didn't get a touchdown in there. And we talked about this before. Darnell Mooney's a start every week. The dude is good, and they use him all the time. So, and the other side of the ball, I don't know what to do except that Kate Otten is apparently awesome for the Bucks. With Mike Evans and Godwin out, Kate Otten is just the man now.
Yeah, that was so that game put Kate Otten all the way up to tight end 6 on the year.
Yeah.
That's how bad tight ends have been. We've heard literally nothing from Kate Otten until the past 2 weeks here when he scored 18 points and then 29 points. And now he's all the way up to tight end 6 on the year.
Yeah. And then we saw Bucky Irving, Rachaad White. We saw kind of their split. It looks like they're still kind of leaning towards, it's pretty even split, but Rachaad White's getting a lot of the receiving work. Bucky Irving's getting some too. It's interesting to see how much they're still kind of favoring Rachaad White when we kind of thought Bucky would take it over. So I'll be curious to see how that goes going forward. And then for receivers here, if I have to pick one I like, it's probably McMillan, the rookie. I just think we haven't been able to see what he can do yet because he's been playing behind Godwin and Evans. So I think he could emerge as a top option. If there's I would say if there's one, of the other wideouts I want to invest in, it's him because I think he has the highest ceiling. Whereas I don't see Sterling Shepard having an amazing, rest of the season or some of these other guys. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean the takeaways from the Bucks side for me is we have to officially just believe that Baker Mayfield's good. I mean,
Yeah.
he's QB2. He's fantasy QB2 on the year. And Godwin's out, Evans is out. So my takeaway is like Baker Mayfield's just good at football and he's good at fantasy football. And um it looks like the winners here of those receivers being out are the running backs. Running backs are getting a lot of usage. They're both, every week starters, and then Kate Otten. So I wouldn't start any of these receivers personally. I think you'd
No,
have to
yeah.
be in pretty dire straits to start them. But um, I like Bucky a little bit more than Rashad White. He gets more carries and more catches in this game. So they look to be leaning on him a little bit more. So Rashad White gets in the end zone. I just think they're both startable. I mean, it's the year of the running back. Just jam them in there.
Yep, I agree. But if I'm taking a waiver wire flyer, I like McMillan for
Yeah,
a shot to do something.
that's
Um,
fair. So would you I mean, are you serious? Like Kyle Pitts, you would seek to sell him?
yeah, I think so. I I like him a lot. I think he's a good player. It's good to see him doing well finally. But I'm not huge on him. And he's had like a really big target share. He's had I think like over 15% target share his last 4 games. And there's 4 games he got the Bucks twice, the Panthers and the Seahawks. So I was just looking up. Those are like really easy teams to do well against, and it's not going to be as easy going forward. Um, so if he's if he's getting these like high 25% target shares like every week, then I'd be like, okay, you got to hold on to the guy because he's a like target hog. But he's getting like this like 15% target share range. And with like a harder schedule going forward, I just think it's a good, like, if you want to sell high, it's a good time to sell high. And especially with how tight ends are, if you can snag a good running back or good wide receiver and like a lesser tight end.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you have another tight end that you're confident in, maybe go for it. Like if you have Ingram
Yeah, or
or
Kraft or somebody.
Kraft or Laporta, something like that. Yeah, maybe try to sell. I will say that Kyle Pitts has a smash matchup this coming week against Dallas because Dallas is friggin' terrible.
Dallas is
So,
so bad. Oh, I love to see it.
so maybe if you really want to sell Pitts, wait
Yeah,
one
wait
more
one more
week
week.
because he's
Yeah,
probably gonna have a pretty good game against Dallas.
yeah,
Um,
that's a good point.
yeah, but Darnell Mooney, let me see. Try to guess what receiver Darnell Mooney is in PPR this year. Oh my
22.
God, you're never gonna get it. Literally
Oh,
never.
7. Is he like crazy high? I don't own him anywhere. That's the problem.
13.
Oh, 13. Okay,
Wide receiver 13 on the year is Darnell
man,
Mooney. That is crazy talk.
money.
Sheesh. All right.
Dang.
Good for him. Um, all right. Moving on to our Nickel City Mafia's own Buffalo Bills fly all the way out to the West Coast and take care of business on against the Seahawks. James Cook just goes absolutely nuclear, super
Yeah.
efficient, gets work through the air, 2 touchdowns. The Bills just do it all this game. Tell me about it.
I don't know if it's like the Bills do it all, but also the Seahawks just look like lost. I don't know what's going on there.
Started 3-0,
They
right?
Yeah, for a team who like throws a lot, they have like not very many throwing touchdowns. It's it just doesn't look good. I'm glad I like JSN, so it's good to see Jackson Smith and Jigba get the bulk of the targets and the bulk of the receptions here. But like I thought Lockett was going to have a good game. We've seen teams play well against the Bills. I thought it was going to be a competitive game, and the Bills just whooped up on them. Khalil Shakir goes crazy. Keon Coleman looking good. Amari Cooper was disappointing, after his debut and he scores a touchdown to see him, not do that great. But I think it's something where like every week, hopefully from now on, we'll see Cooper get a little more involved. They'll get some plays drawn up for him. He's getting to know the playbook a little better. I know Bills fans are super pumped to have Amari Cooper there. Can't wait to see how much better he gets with them. But
Yeah.
yeah, my take is like the Seattle side. I'm worried about the fantasy value of these guys, but I do think like as a whole, the team will bounce back. We'll see Kenneth Walker. We'll see JSN. I haven't heard yet about DK if he's coming back or if he's going to be a week or
Yeah,
two.
he looks likely to return this week.
He is okay because
Yeah.
I know that before they hadn't really said last I checked.
Where is I'm trying to find Khalil Shakir. Oh, I thought he's wide receiver 30 in points per game. I thought he was going to be higher than that.
He had a couple down games, or was he out a game or two
Yeah.
potentially? I can't remember, but I'm
Okay.
just curious to see going for like Shakir for a while. We were like, he's an every week start, but with Amari Cooper there, I'm curious to see how the target share plays out going
Yeah, I
forward.
mean,
Is Shakir
if
still
you
going to
have
be a
to
hog?
pick rank rest of season, Shakir, Coleman, Cooper.
Man, I mean, I think it kind of stays that way for the next few weeks, but then by the end of the season, Amari Cooper works his way up potentially into that top spot because he could just be a touchdown hog. Um, so
Yeah, I
we
think
could
I'd
see
rank
him
him
kind
how I
of go
set
over.
him as well. I mean, Shakir has just been
Yeah,
so solid.
yeah,
Coleman's really coming on the past couple weeks. It looks like he's
yep.
kind of figured out his rookie woes. He didn't really start well. Yeah, I mean, I think I would take both of them comfortably above Cooper for now.
Yeah, that's what I say. I think rest of the season, I think Cooper like comes into his own. He's so talented. I think he'll end up outscoring them from like now to the rest of the season in total points. I just think that is there for him. That ceiling is there. Um,
So I think the Bills took the beating that the Ravens gave them on the ground. They must have took that to heart because I don't know how Derrick Henry, runs for almost 200 yards against the Bills, and then they hold Kenneth Walker to 12.
I know it's
That's wild. The 9 carries for 12 yards and then 3 carries for 4 yards for Charbonnet. That's madness because both of those running backs are extremely talented. Seattle knows how to run the ball, and they've kind of been having their way on the ground with a lot of other teams. So you can tell the Bills have really righted the ship defensively here.
yeah. I think that the Bills' defense going forward is they have a couple sneaky good. This week I have them as like a top 7, top 8-ish defense. They get Miami, which
Yeah, that's just kind of like a lesson learned here. When you're looking at, a lot of the fantasy websites, they kind of like color code how the matchup is and if it's good or bad or whatever. I think a really important thing to look at is, remember that those rankings are a conglomerate of the whole year. So what I prefer to look at is how has that defense been the last 3 or 4 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks, right? Because things change in the NFL quickly. So the Bills probably look like, maybe they're not so great against the run because Lamar and Derrick Henry actually absolutely tore them up and probably scored, 50, 60 some fantasy points on the ground against them, right? So that drives their average up. But it looks like they have things figured out. Saints or
Saints
Broncos defense.
for this week, it's an easy one. Saints defense.
Oh yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
Broncos are getting Chris's Baltimore Ravens, and I would not want to start a defense playing against the Ravens.
Yeah, the Broncos are probably a better defense overall,
for
but
sure, just not this week. Yeah,
you got to play the Saints against Carolina. That's a slam dunk.
I have the Saints like top 3 defense this week. Yeah,
Maybe even number 1.
they could be for sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah, talking about defenses that have gotten better though. How about the Commanders? Our next game up on the slate here, the best game of the week, best play of the week. So talking about, oh boy, Jaden, let's go.
So number 1 overall draft pick takes on number 2 overall draft pick, and I would say it was a game for the ages, but damn, what a boring game.
Hey,
Until the fourth quarter, it was a rather boring
no,
game.
it was a frustrating game because we couldn't score a freaking touchdown, man. Oh, they kept getting, whether it was a penalty or something in the red zone would stop them, and we were one of the best teams in the red zone. Uh, the Bears have a good defense. I think I'll give them that. The Bears have a good defense. Washington, I got to give Dan Quinn credit. He's made the Washington defense from like nothing. He's made them good. We're not very talented, and all of a sudden our defense has gotten a lot better since we started the season. So I love watching all these Bears fans videos, and they're saying like, Caleb played great. Caleb was blah, blah, blah. Caleb threw for 130 yards. Like, that's not good. I'm sorry. Like, he was not good at all. Jaden Daniels looks great in this game. He throws for 300 yards, but somehow they can't score a touchdown in the first 3-4 quarters of the game until a Hail Mary, the most amazing Hail Mary, and the Bears safety who was supposed to be covering the player who caught the Hail Mary is too busy taunting Commanders fans that he runs in, tips the ball directly to the player he was supposed to be covering the entire time.
That was
I
terrible.
love it. You can't make that up. Can't make it up at all. It's great.
Absolutely terrible.
I was jumping up and down. It was awesome.
On the Bears, I would like to announce that DeAndre Swift in the past 5 weeks is running back 3 in points per game. So
I was wrong. I think you and I both said get rid of Swift, and we were wrong.
Well, his first 3 weeks, he never had higher than 5 fantasy points.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I'm not sure what happened, but I thought we were about to have Roshan Johnson season, and DeAndre Swift threw on the brakes big time and is just absolutely on fire. Man, running back 3 the past 5 weeks. I can't believe it. I'm truly in shock, and I don't know what to say, but I will say I was wrong about that.
Yeah, we got a few questions here. So AOL is asking about the Broncos D. You missed it. We were just talking about them. Not this week.
Nope.
Start most other defenses this week. There's about 13 better defenses this week.
Nah, yeah, Denver has to.
Our friend was asking about New Orleans,
Denver to Baltimore, and take on a pissed off Ravens team at home. Ravens don't really lose at home very often. I would stay far away from that.
I'd start the Washington defense this week over Broncos. They get New York Giants. So then Kyler Murray, Kirk Cousins, or Bo Nix. I think it's close between Kyler and Kirk, but Kirk we were just talking about how horrible Dallas is. So I think I'd give Kirk the edge. We saw Chicago do a pretty good job against, holding Jane Daniels from scoring touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So I would give Kirk a slight edge, but I kind of think it's a little bit of a coin toss between Kirk or Kyler. What do you think? Because Kyler rushes.
I like Kirk. I just think Dallas has been so bad, especially lately. They're at Atlanta's at home. That game could turn into a shootout. I think there's going to be a lot of points in Atlanta, Dallas. So I like Kirk there.
And AOL, how will Jack Wire signing Venus Jones change the fantasy game?
Venus Jones,
yeah, he makes an instant impact right there, man. I don't know.
I think it's Venus Jones. Yeah, this was the guy that was like a 26-year-old rookie, right?
Yeah.
And then they drafted him in the second round or something stupid.
Yeah. Oh, he was on. Wasn't he on Chicago or something for Hard Knocks this year? Yeah.
Let me see. Start 1 full PPR: Myers, Pittman, and Coleman. I think with Joe Flacco at the helm.
Yeah.
Michael Pittman. Although
I got Pittman, but I've got Myers close. They get Cincinnati, which you can throw on, and he's like the only option. So I've got Myers and Pittman like right next to each other, and Coleman a little further down. They're all really close. It's a tough choice to make there. I agree with you though. I'm going Michael Pittman. I think with Flacco there, he's going to throw to him more.
Yeah, I dig that. Pittman. All right. Patriots, Saints, and Titans D. I think we said Saints, right?
Saints D for sure. They get Carolina, top 3 defense this week. definitely the one to grab.
Deontay Johnson, any value? Yeah, to the waiver wire. No,
No.
no, hold
We
him.
think
Hold
he's
him
a
for one
hold.
week.
Yeah.
Hold him for 1 week.
Maybe two. Give him a few weeks.
So yeah, give him 2 because number one, he just got to Baltimore today, right? So he doesn't know the plays yet. He's probably going to play 40% of the snaps, and he plays Denver's defense, which is pretty good. I mean,
It might help him though if Surtain is on Flowers the whole game, and then they have to throw to either the tight ends, Bateman or Deontay. Maybe Deontay gets some one-on-one matchups, and they're like, just throw it to him on the side or in the slot or something.
I think that if you are able to trade Deontay Johnson, if someone is showing interest in Deontay Johnson that you own, you trade him. I
All
don't
right,
care what.
here's the trade I got: Deontay Johnson or Cortland Sutton.
Sutton.
I disagree. I didn't do it. I kept Deontay Johnson
Well,
because I think I would never start Sutton. I don't have a good why would I start Sutton? But Deontay potentially has value to start.
I would,
Like, if
when I
he
would start
picks up.
Cortland Sutton, I would start him this week against
Well,
the Ravens shit defense.
Okay, that's a good point. All right, then we got another question here. Cowboys Ferguson or Goddard? I'd go Ferguson.
Oh, Goddard
Goddard's
might
still
not
coming
even
back
play.
from injury. Yeah, we haven't heard for sure that he's playing this week.
Yeah, I think
A lot
that's
of pros have him not ranked this week, so just do the sure thing with Ferguson.
Oh yeah, I mean I like Ferguson anyway.
Yeah.
In a dome, high scoring game against Atlanta's not so good defense. That's a even if Goddard's fully healthy, I like Ferguson.
Yeah. But back to the Bears Commanders games for fantasy purposes, the Bears really, except for DeAndre Swift going nuts, especially on that one run, there isn't a whole lot going on. Odunze gets some guys targets. Keenan Allen, DJ Moore has kind of a bad game. He got banged up a little bit in this game. But we've seen the Bears have been doing a lot better. I think the Commanders, like I said, surprisingly good defense all of a sudden. So I think we'll see the Bears passing game kind of pick up. I actually really like Odunze as a buy low right now. He's a rookie coming in the second half of the season. Things could get a little better, and Odunze owners might be fed up with him just not putting up points.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and then Roshan Johnson gets a touchdown. He's just a little touchdown vulture over there, but that's kind of it. They don't really use him, so it's a little frustrating because you and I were talking about for a few weeks. We like that one.
Roshan Johnson's probably droppable at this point. I'm holding him in a lot of leagues out of hope, but I think I might have to move on. I agree with you with the Dunze. I mean, second half of the year, Caleb hasn't really blossomed yet. Dunze hasn't really blossomed yet, but I feel like if there's an injury to Allen or DJ Moore, I think Dunze is really going to take off second half of the year.
And then AOL Instant Messenger, I would probably go Patriots over Titans. I think they're they're playing each other, and both are not great teams. I probably just like the Patriots defense slightly better, but that's like a coin toss right there. It's just who's going to get the pick six almost in that game. I feel like who's going to get the turnovers. I can't imagine it's going to be a high scoring game. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, if Drake May's out, it's probably pretty close, but I mean, I don't know. We don't know if Levis is playing or if Drake May is playing, right?
Yeah.
It could be two backup quarterbacks.
I haven't heard yet. Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough.
Whichever one is, whichever one has the backup quarterback start the other defense. So.
Yeah, and then both backup quarterbacks play probably the Patriots because they just probably have a better defense than the Titans.
Oh no, the Saints, dude. We already said this. Grab the Saints. Definitely grab the Saints.
Saints might be the
they
number
get
one.
Carolina.
Yeah,
they get Carolina. Just take the Saints. It's easy.
And the good thing about Carolina for the Saints defense is Bryce Young's playing. That's wonderful news.
Yes, Bryce Young is
Dalton's
horrible,
out
absolutely
week,
horrible.
So are going to be the backup this week. So Bryce Young's playing. You always start every defense against Bryce Young. He is trash.
Yep. So Bears Commanders side of the ball for fantasy. Jaden Daniels. It seems like he's going to get us 50 yards on the ground every week, at least at this point. We've kind of gotten to that point. He's really great, accurate passer. He's throwing deep. Zach Ertz, I think, is a every week starting tight end now with Jaden Daniels. They seem to really like him. And then Terry McLaurin, nobody else I wouldn't really be starting besides Brian Robinson, right? Is anybody else you would start there? I feel like it's McLaurin, Ertz, Robinson, Jaden Daniels is all you can start from the Commanders.
That's right. But I like it that way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Super
You know what
tight.
you're getting.
Yeah, super tight. Funnel offense. McLaurin, man, what a great year he's had.
He finally has a quarterback. His entire career, he's never had a real quarterback. Kirk Cousins was the closest he came to having a real quarterback, and he finally has one. And the dude is just ready to ball out. I will
Why?
say, I think we talked about this 4 weeks ago. Noah Brown is like a sneaky deep stash, and he's got 6 targets this game. He had the game winning Hail Mary touchdown. Somebody just to keep an eye on, just because I think he's more talented than like the rest of the wide receivers on the besides
For
McLaurin.
sure. Yeah, I think we spoke Terry McLaurin into existence. His first 2 weeks of the year, he had 4 points and 8 points, and we were like, "Why is Jaden Daniels not throwing deep to Terry McLaurin? Please make it happen."
Every throw.
And then ever since then, he's just on fire. So,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
And they use Terry everywhere too. Terry gets some slot work. He gets some short throws. First down throws.
How's Chubb's workload? He had a pretty good workload.
Yeah, he had 16 carries. Deonta had 5, so they're giving him the bulk of it.
And he got 2 targets.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think he had 16 carries, and that was against the Ravens, who are pretty good run defense. I think maybe 14, 15, 16 carries probably his floor. I mean, it looks like he's healthy. He looked really good. So I would start him with confidence, especially in the year of the running back. Just go for it.
He's going to have some tough matchups, I think, but you have to start him. He's Nick Chubb.
Yeah. Agree.
Want to run through some buy lows, some sell highs?
Go for it.
So we talked about a couple buy lows. We're talking about Roma Dunze. I've got him on there. Josh Downs, we talked about. I think he could end up being a higher fantasy value player than Michael Pittman the rest of the way, with our boy, Mr. Elite Joe Flacco under center. Kind of different buy low, Alexander Madison for Vegas. I don't know if he's like exactly buy low because he's been putting up points, but he's not like a sexy, running back to have on your team. But Vegas actually has a pretty decent schedule going forward and in the playoffs. So I think he's worth, especially if you're going to be a playoff contender, he could be a flex play for you. It's somebody to think about going after. And then I think we said this last week, and even though he had a horrible week, Dak Prescott still, he has a good schedule going forward, a really good schedule. He's got to put it together. He can't keep being this bad. I don't know. How about you? Any buy lows?
My one that I'm kind of focused on this week is T. Higgins.
Yeah, there you go.
He was out. Well, you worried a little bit because it's soft tissue injury. T. Higgins is kind of made of glass, but I think if you're in first place or second place, third place, you kind of are guaranteed a playoff spot, or you're looking pretty good. I think he's someone high upside to add. When he's healthy and he plays, their offense just looks completely different. So, yeah, I'm in on T. Higgins rest of season.
Yeah, nice. I agree with that one. T. Higgins is awesome. I think he'll bounce back. Then AOL is asking, Bryce, why does Bryce stink so bad? Dude, I don't know. I think it's just one of those things where the quarterback position, every year we hear, it is the hardest position to scout for the NFL. And that's why teams value them so highly. It's why they go so highly in the draft. And it just seems like he does not have it. We'll see if it seems like the Panthers, whether they have to start him or they're trying to, kind of give him another chance, they got to figure something out this season, because either figure out he's not going to be the guy, and then they need to spend what's going to be a top pick on a quarterback, or trade him away, or they need to work on him some more. They got to do some work this year and just see what to do about him, because they burned so much to get him, so much.
Yep.
I mean, they basically made the Bears as good as they are right now. It's completely thanks to Carolina.
Yeah, sad to see. I don't know. I think he needs a change of scenery. I don't know. Maybe we'll see a QB carousel, between Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, and maybe my boy Trey Lance, who I have in every freaking dynasty league
No,
possible.
I don't think he's ever playing again. All right, we'll move on to some sell highs.
Oh, I got one
So
more. I got one more buy low.
I
I
got
forgot
buy low.
about
All right, yeah, fire away.
Jonathan Brooks, because why not?
Yeah, the worrisome thing about that, I was just listening to actually a podcast about
He just might not play
fantasy
at
stuff
all.
today. Well, it's just quiet. It's like weirdly quiet, but like there's no news on him, right? There's no news on the injury. He's in his practice window and he's practicing. That's the only news I've heard, like directly from the coaches, or that he's practicing. And every week the coach says, "We're gonna see." He got some full practice in. We're gonna see how he does next week. We're gonna see how he does next week. Um, but it could be a situation where Carolina's just like, why use him, right? Like they're not going to win. They're not winning this year. Like, why use him? I think they'll use him down the road, just to see, kind of like see what they got out of their second round pick, right? But he's not going to get like this, 20 plus carry workload. They'll give him like a 10 carry workload and split with Chuba just to see what he can do. So I don't
Yeah,
know. With him, I'm kind of just like a hold. I don't think he's like a buyer. So I think it's like if you have him, you've been holding for so long. If you have some room for him, you just gotta hold. I have him in like I think one of our leagues, and he's just sitting on my bench.
yeah. I think I don't know. He might have been cut a few places. Like I don't know. And he can't be expensive to buy. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking if I have a bench spot I really don't need, and I'm kind of locked and loaded to make the playoffs, it's like kind of an upside swing, but it has a lot of
Yeah.
downside to it.
Yeah. And then some sell highs. We talked a little bit about sorry I said Kyle Pitts. We talked about that already. And then Cedric Tillman. So he's like definitely an ad, but I think he could also be a sell high, 2 great weeks in a row. Cleveland's got a new quarterback. But I think he's a sell high because their schedule upcoming is super difficult. So I just think it's not something that he can keep doing. And I got a couple other Cream Hunt for Kansas City. We don't know when Pacheco's coming back. I think what I've heard is like around week 12-ish,
Hmm.
right around there. But Cream Hunt is not going to be the guy to like have you win your playoffs. So sell him now while you can and get something for him that will help you get, some wins down the road and into the playoffs. And then Najee Harris, I brought this up, I think, the last couple shows. I've been saying he's a sell, and he just keeps crushing it every week. But I still do think he's a sell. I think Jalen Warren is going to cut into his time. I don't think he continues to just like keep this up. I don't know. do you have any sells? And what do you think? Especially about the Najee Harris one. Am I just being dumb at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think you were always kind of a little too big on Jalen Warren. But
Yeah.
I mean, Najee Harris I think he looks really good, man.
No.
There's nothing that's totally obvious to me about him that I would want to sell him. I mean, he's a boring player, but he keeps producing. Let me see what he's doing so far on the year. Yeah, I mean he's running back 19 on the year, and lately, like his last 3 games, 20 points, 16 points, 16 points. I mean, yeah, I mean it depends who you're getting, I think. But I think he's like a super solid back end RB2.
Yeah.
Yeah, my main sell is Calvin Ridley. He's been
Good
pretty
call.
awful this year. And I just don't really have confidence in the Titans or that QB position for the rest of the year. And he pretty much went bananas this week. And I just think it's a good window to get rid of him. So, yeah, if anyone's super happy about that production, it's not going to happen like that again. So, decent little sell window for Calvin Ridley. And then just because I say it like every week, Xavier Worthy. I just don't
Yeah.
want him. And I feel like people like him because he's fast and he's on the Chiefs. And I just think he's not nearly as good as people think he is.
I
And
think he's like,
they got DeAndre Hopkins now.
yeah, I think he's a sell and a buy. Like, I think you can play either way, right? You can tell yourself a story where DeAndre Hopkins is there. He's going to like help take some of the coverage away from Xavier Worthy, and Worthy just got a touchdown this week. He gets involved. They like to use him, or he's a sell because hey, like he scored a touchdown. This is a good time to sell him, and DeAndre Hopkins is going to come in and take a bunch of work from him. So like, I feel like you could go either way with him. I don't have him anywhere, so.
Okay. So all in one show. Thanks for the question, man. Appreciate you. He says I'm 4-4 off a 4-game win streak.
Nice.
Any changes? So let me see. You have Burrow, Gibbs, Pollard, London, Flowers, Kelsey, Swift. Is that
That's
Taylor
Swift.
Swift
Nice.
or DeAndre Swift? Kelsey.
Taylor Swift. Bench has got Waddle, Higgins, Ridley, Jacobs, Kittle, and McMillan. So we were just talking about selling Ridley.
Can I ask why Josh Jacobs is on your bench?
Yeah, yeah. I would be starting first off. Start Jacobs over Pollard for sure.
And second off, George Kittle is the number 1 tight end in fantasy football, and it's not close. So
see, this is where I think we can help him. He should be selling Kelsey or Kittle plus Ridley. We were just talking about how Ridley's a sell. I think go to make a trade Ridley plus Kittle or Kelsey, one of those two guys.
I would trade Ridley and Kelsey or Ridley and Kittle, whatever can get you more. I'd probably
upgrade at wideout.
Smashing, dude. Kittle, I want to keep him, right? Yeah, man. I mean, his
I would with that you got for the year. I would sell Kelsey over Kittle. I agree with you.
Here's Kittle's last couple of games: 25, 15, 23, 20, 15, 21. I mean, he's automatic. So I would trade Kelsey and Ridley for a wide receiver that we like. Maybe
who might be a decent buy low, or I don't know buy low, but Garrett Wilson, if the owner's worried about Devontae Adams, Marvin Harrison, because he finally had a good game, but he's had a bunch of bad games in a row. Trying to think, like Jaden Reed, maybe.
What about Puka or Cooper Kupp?
That might be tough. They both. I mean, Puka over Cooper Kupp, probably, right? Yeah.
Amon-Ra.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway,
that's reaching for the stars there, or you were just saying T Higgins, or he's got T Higgins. Never mind.
He's got T Higgins. I mean, the answer is your team's pretty stacked. Jacobs should be starting over Pollard. Higgins, man, I mean, I like this team a lot because I think Waddle is like a low-key buy/upside play with Tua back.
Yeah.
Higgins is great. You have to play him when he's healthy. Get rid of Ridley and get rid of one of the tight ends. And I mean, your other play that you could make is, I mean, Burrow's decent, but I feel like you could swing for a big QB like Lamar or something like that.
Wow, that's a good point. I think I would go maybe Burrow, Kelsey
for Lamar. Let's do Burrow
Lamar.
and Kelsey for Lamar, or let's do Ridley and Kelsey for
Daniels
or something like that.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels would be up there.
Anyway, you can't keep rostering Kelsey and Kittle.
Yeah, and also we both agree keep Kittle. Kelsey's the one to sell.
Yeah.
I think Kittle's probably number 1 tight end going forward. He's just with Ayuk out, he's going to get so many targets. It's going to be insane. At the flex, Devontae Smith or Ramondre. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah,
leaning Devontae Smith.
Yeah, I think so too.
Him, but I should probably double check what I've got. Yeah, I gotta go Devontae Smith on this one for sure. Forgot to get Jacksonville.
Yeah, they get Jacksonville. So man. So the only thing that I will say is Ramondre Stevenson is like so diabolical, right? Because when he is in a negative game script, he's just ass. But when he's playing a tight game and they lean on him, he's been really good. And they play Tennessee. I don't know. No, I'm
going Devontae Smith.
If it's PPR, I'm definitely going Devontae Smith.
That's a good point.
If it's standard, I'm probably doing Ramondre just because running backs are the best.
No, that's true. But yeah, any kind of PPR, I go Devontae Smith there. Hey, well, thanks for the questions, man. It's fun for us. We appreciate you stopping by, hanging out. Make sure you all like and subscribe. Questions are
Yeah.
great. We'll run through some waivers here, and then we'll call it a night. So if you have any more questions, squeeze them in real quick. And Kittle's on by this week. Yeah, forgot about that. My bad. Wait a week, and then use Kelsey while you've got him, and then next week sell. I like Chris's idea, the selling Burrow plus Kelsey for a top quarterback, like Lamar or somebody. If you think you put someone together, like
Jalen
Lamar
Hurts.
Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Josh
Yeah,
Allen,
one
maybe a
of
team with the top quarterback, they're hurting other places. They have a really crap tight ends.
yeah. Jalen Hurts has such a good schedule moving forward.
Yeah.
Possible playing in the trade. He has Kincaid. No, if you don't, I don't want you to roster 2 tight ends.
Yeah.
He's talking about getting Kincaid back in the trade. I don't. No.
No.
If you have George Kittle,
once Kittle's buy is done, you do not need another tight end at all, ever. You're just going to start Kittle the rest of the season. So there's no point in having another tight end. So that's why we're saying, like, after this week, you play Kelsey this week. Next week, Kittle gets slotted into your tight end spot, and he stays for the rest of the season.
and
then
trade Kelsey. So Kelsey
trade
needs
Kelsey.
to go after this week, either with Burrow for a quarterback or with Calvin Ridley for a receiver. Is it worth trying to trade for Josh Jacobs? I mean, I think so.
Yeah, he's been
Probably
crushing
not
it.
getting him for cheap.
That's what I was gonna say. That's the only problem is, yeah, he's not gonna be cheap to get. I'm trying to see if there's like someone I'd rather kind of go after running back wise, but like maybe I think I'd rather have Alvin Kamara. I think they're pretty close, and Kamara owner might be a little frustrated right now with how the Saints are, just the offense in general. So that's maybe someone you could shoot for instead if you don't want to pay the price of Josh Jacobs. But I still think Josh Jacobs is like a top, 12 running back rest of the way ish.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone that has Josh Jacobs is going to sell him, but if you can get him, I love that. I mean, he's been outstanding this year.
Yeah.
And he's been super solid too. I mean, he's Josh Jacobs is running back 10 on the year, and he's been over 12 fantasy points every game except one. That's really good. So yeah.
Yeah, he good.
I like that. All right, let's run through some waiver claims.
We talked about a few. We got Cedric Tillman. He definitely should be on your team if he's sitting around on waivers out of Cleveland. Then Carolina. So with Deontay Johnson gone, Xavier Legette gets a huge jump. Jalen Coker, I think is how you say his name. Coker. Damn, I was close. Jalen Coker is an interesting kind of deep play. He's a rookie. We don't really know what he can do. So it could be curious if he blows up. And then some quarterbacks. We've got, Bo Nix has just been crushing it.
Mm-hmm.
Drake May, Jameis Winston. Yeah. If you're got Anthony Richardson, you're looking for some replacements. Jameis Winston, not crazy about because he's got a difficult schedule, but still we know he's going to throw a lot. And then along with that, Elijah Moore is kind of a deep play from Cleveland. And then Parker Washington from Jacksonville with Kirk out and Brian Thomas. We're not sure if he's out or not. And then lastly, I've got Taysom Hill. He's supposed to be healthy again. I don't know if I've heard for sure he's starting or not, but if he is, they just don't have any options right now on that offense. And I think Keandre Miller is still out. Like Taysom Hill could be the running back. He could be the tight end. He could be the wide receiver. He could be the quarterback. He could be playing every position on that team the next few weeks. And it's just like a cheat code. Then we talked a little bit about defenses, but a quick couple of defenses to stream. New Orleans is right up there. Chargers, Minnesota, Washington, and Philly. If you guys are looking for some of those.
Cool. So Donovan says, the guy in my league that has Josh Jacobs knows nothing about football. I have Devonta Smith, Ramadre, Mooney, McConkey on my bench. What would be a good trade using those guys?
Probably Ramadre plus. That way he's getting
Ramadre plus, but I wouldn't give Ramadre and Mooney or Ramadre. Maybe Ramadre and Mooney. I don't know. Mooney's
Yeah.
he's wide receiver 13 on the year.
Man,
That's
who are
too
your
good.
starting wide receivers? If all these guys are on your bench, you must have crushed it.
I mean, Ramadre plus something, but I wouldn't give up Ramadre and Mooney or Ramadre and McConkey. I don't think.
I would do Ramondre and McConkey, I think.
This must be like a 10-team league. So yeah, I mean, we
So
talk
yeah,
about
I would do that to move into a top running back spot there.
it really matters if this is like a 8 or 10 team league. The smaller the number of teams, the more you're willing to like consolidate into
To better players.
hammer players.
Yeah.
If this is a 12 team league, I would not trade 2 of those players for Josh Jacobs. But if it's 8 or 10, sure.
Yeah, I would go Ladd and Mooney. Or sorry, not Ladd and Mooney. I would go Ladd and Ramondre for those guys.
For Jacobs. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair. McConkey had such a good game this past week.
Yeah.
I don't know what his
And
line was.
if it is like an 8 or 10 man league too, I would even go like Ladd, Mooney, McConkey, and go after like, I don't know, Kenneth Walker or Kyron,
Yeah.
Derrick Henry, somebody big.
Like really
Just
try
try
to
to-
tear up.
Yeah, because if you're not using these guys, they're on your bench. I would really try to tear up big time and just do like a
just
3 for
just a
1.
general lesson there. Yeah, 8 and 10 team leagues, you always want the part of the trade that has the best player. You don't care about strength and numbers. But if it's like 12 team or 14 team league, you typically getting 2 startable players for 1 startable player is usually pretty good. Cool. Well, that's all we got, man. Thanks for everyone that came by and hung out. If you don't mind liking the video for us, subscribe to the channel. We do this every week where we kind of go through some games, take some questions, try to help you guys out. We really appreciate you stopping by. And any last thoughts?
No, thanks guys. We'll see you all
Appreciate
next time.
See you next week. Later.